Hello, I'm Johnna Watson. I play Kiara in Motorheads on Prime Video, and this is Pop Culture with Pat.
Guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. So I'm so excited to be joined by today's guest. Today I'm talking to Johnna Watson, who plays Kiara in Motorheads, which is on Prime Video currently. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me. I'm just excited to talk about Motorheads.
Yeah, no, I've really been enjoying this series. Just to kind of to start things off for you, Johnna, as far as the character of Kiara, how were we able to connect with Kiara and find out the heart of the character for this series?
Well, I feel like she's not that dissimilar to me, especially me in high school. Like, I think she's maybe a little like girlier than I am and was, but I do think that her general demeanor and outlook was similar to how I felt, which was just like I think she's playing a part convincingly, and she's not always super vocal about how she feels, but I think that's her kind of journey throughout the season. So I could connect to her pretty quickly through that, and yeah, just her willingness and openness to try and see things a little differently than others, and she seems she was just very interesting to me because she's like a good younger version of myself that is trying a little too hard but is overall a good person.
But I feel like a lot of us can relate to that. We all kind of try maybe a little too hard, especially when it comes to high school. And that was something I was going to ask you too, as far as the high school experience. Many people can relate to that. It's all kind of an awkward time for everybody. So I was going to ask you, was there any other characters that you related to more than Kiara, or it sounds like you related pretty well to Kiara, like overall?
Honestly, yeah, I probably heard the most. I was a cheerleader for like 6 months in high school, and I was like definitely trying to be the like part of the popular crowd, but every time I just like it's such a I don't know, like I barely remember it because I was just going to school and like doing the going through the motions. But I related to her in that way because I feel like um she's pretending a little bit, a lot maybe. So probably her out of everyone I relate to the most.
And now, as far as so living in a small town, how has living in this town, how has the previous generation influenced Kiara and where she's at today?
Massively. I think that I've said this, but my parents both grew up in small towns in Pennsylvania. My mom, we used to go visit her family every summer, and every all the young people listen to the music that their parents listen to, and the culture is sort of passed down. And you're not in a city where you're exposed to all sorts of different kinds of people and people who are living super authentically and in with pop culture and all those things. So I think she's massively influenced by her parents and the generation above her, and she listens to their music. She wears her dad's sunglasses, things like that. Really keyed me into her, and I think that that's a small town phenomenon that happens. Like people, you just grow up with what's given to you rather than going out and finding it yourself because you have this little world that you exist within.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like in a way that I feel like the small town, it's almost a character in its own. You guys obviously have all the characters, the character that you play, but I feel like the town itself is also a character that we kind of get to learn more about as the series goes on as well.
Yeah, it is. It's like it's not a city. It's haunted by all these stories that people tell their kids and tell their family and friends at gatherings. And like we all know who Christian Maddox is, and we all know about the lore and all these things. And I think that that's sort of something that can only happen in a town that small because there aren't all those many things happening. It's just there are those stories that everybody knows and those characters that everybody knows. And I think the town being this little community, I think that that's what enables that dynamic.
Now, for you yourself, how familiar were you with culture and the world of racing itself coming into Motorheads? And was there anything specific that you did to kind of maybe familiarize yourself a little bit more with that world? I know from what we see, she's not really in that scene specifically, but I mean, it's such a big part of the town itself.
Well, I knew a lot about it from stories I knew from family members. My mom's cousins and brothers, they raced cars and had that small town culture of it. So I learned a lot from talking to her about it and just remembering all those stories. They all went all these crazy races and dirt bikes and quads and all those things. And I was a little scared of them, to be honest, because they're super dangerous.
Yeah.
So I never really immersed myself in that culture. But once I got into the show, I tried to give myself a little bit more curiosity toward the car culture and learn a little bit more about it. And like, yeah, I don't know. My first car was just like to get me from point A to point B. I was never like a super big car person, but I definitely have found a little bit more interest in it since the show. And
Since
watching and also watching Michael build, he built a Miata, like he rebuilt a whole car. And I met him in LA for the first time in his garage
oh wow.
with while he was building his car. And so I was like learning from him and hearing about him talk about it, and it kind of goes over my head, but I got to do some cool stuff on the car, so I've definitely found a an interest in it. Yeah.
Yeah, and appreciation for it. And I feel like that's natural working on a series that that's just such like an important aspect of it that you're going to pick up on some things along the way and then maybe, kind of look into stuff a little bit more that maybe you weren't interested in, prior to coming into the series. Now for Kiara, she definitely puts on different masks kind of depending on the person that she's with just because of the expectations I feel like that they kind of have for her. But as a series or as this first season kind of goes on, she starts to loosen up on that a little bit and not care quite as much as what people think. What was it like getting to explore those different elements of the character?
It's so fun. I mean, it's fun playing someone who is constantly being pulled in a lot of directions, and she doesn't have like a back to self. Especially at the start of the season, she doesn't have somebody that she's just like relaxed in herself with. Um, and so it's fun because I sort of had to map out all those different versions of her, and when one comes out and when another is more prevalent and all those things. And at the party, I think that's like her fun side, and she's really social and she's letting loose a little bit more, but she's not actually letting loose, she's like performing that. But then with her mom, she's like very buttoned up, and she has to kind of save face. And those are just really fun things to play because ultimately they're all part of her. But the funnest scenes are with Caitlyn, and I think Alicia toward the end of the season as well. She doesn't pretend as much, and she actually has to figure out who she is and what she wants. And I think it just turns out to be a little bit more of a relaxed and excitable person, but not someone who's always pretending and wearing that mask that she wears so often. It's really fun to play. It's much more
Yeah,
fun than playing a straightforward kind of. Yeah,
yeah,
I
there's a
guess.
lot of different layers to the character, kind of like an onion. So as the series kind of going on, you just get to see these different elements. So I imagine, yeah, that was a lot of fun for you working on this first season.
Yeah, and also coming up with things that or drawing from things that when she feels insecure, like what does she do? She smiles. And what is, her physicality when she feels relaxed is slightly different to when she's around her mom or when she's around Noah. And those are all so fun to play because sometimes they come up naturally and you just have to jot them down so you remember. And sometimes it's like a conscious, yeah, I remember in high school when this would happen, I kind of did this a little bit more. I wore my hair this way or whatever. So I don't know. Yeah, it was really fun and a little bit challenging.
And Kiara takes a liking to Caitlyn in the series. So what was it like working with Melissa? How did you guys want to approach that relationship? And what was it just like developing that dynamic between your characters, especially as this first season goes on?
Melissa is so easy to act with because she's so great, and it's just you just in the scene you're just reacting to her and being present with her. She's really a great actor to do that with, and it was we were kind of thrown into the deep end because we were the first scene that we shot for the entire series. Like it was the first scene where we meet in the hallway, um, and so I was freaking out, and so was she. So we kind of bonded over like this is crazy, like we're the first shot of the season, and but it was just this air of like, oh, like
No
hope we don't mess
pressure.
this up because this is gonna down. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. We were both sort of nervous, but we were comfortable. We had our lines down. We knew our lines. We'd run them together. But yeah, the first day it's gonna like set the tone for the rest of the shoot. So we just bonded over that sort of nervous excitement and found it together, worked it out together. And I think that that's kind of how we ended up going through most of the scenes. And actually saying that feels authentic to the characters too. They're figuring out that dynamic as it goes. And So yeah, the nervous excitement sort of adds to it. It has that
Yeah.
little bit of like a fizzle to it that is so fun and easy to play with her. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool to see that relationship and a dynamic play out over the season, and I'm excited to see where that, could possibly go in the future.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you specifically about filming some of the Firefly Festival scenes because I absolutely loved that episode. I thought it was beautiful as far as like the visuals and everything go, and someone myself, I have a lot of nostalgia and just really good memories as far as going to festivals, carnivals, things like that. So can you talk a little bit about filming that episode specifically?
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's talked about this yet, but we got rained out a couple times. That we were in this kind of remote festival ground area and it was super rainy because it was like spring in Canada and it was a little hard because we would be walking and trudging through mud to get to set and I think it was fun and it added again it added a sort of energy to the scene and the festival that I think was really beautiful um and the whole cast was together, like everyone was there, even Ryan, like everyone was there, so it was a good bonding experience for all of us to just be on set together, and when you weren't filming you were hanging out with everyone while it rained all around you. Yeah, and filming with Melissa, that Firefly gazebo moment was so cool. I actually had forgotten and remembered that when I was a kid, we used to go catch fireflies and then obviously let them go.
Yeah.
But I had totally forgotten about that memory until we were standing under the gazebo and I was like imagining, and then I was like, oh my god, I used to do that. Which added this, I don't know, all of this just I think adds to the energy of the scene, which is two people getting closer and um, opening up to each other a little bit, and we're trying to. And Caitlyn seeing all of those walls that Kiara has up, and Kiara debating whether or not she should drop them, and kind of trying to convince herself that she's not pretending, but she is, and I think she sort of knows it in that moment. She just had that fight with Noah, obviously, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, those were really fun to shoot.
And
Those
those
were really
were honestly like some of those quieter, more intimate moments between the characters. Those oftentimes are some of my favorite scenes, whether it be a film or a series, just because in that little moment you get to learn so much about these two characters, the interaction between them. So those are some of my favorite moments. But obviously seeing all the cars decked out with all the colors and stuff like that was really cool. And I can totally understand as far as the rainy weather. I'm here in New England in New Hampshire, and we just went on our 11th consecutive Saturday that we've had rain. So I can totally understand. It can be a little frustrating just having to deal with the weather sometimes.
I love the rain. I live in London, so I love the rain. I'm not in London now, but I I love it. I think it just gives you I don't know, it gives you like the impulse to sit and think a little bit. And for that scene specifically, that was really helpful.
It can be
Um,
nice. Like, don't get me wrong. I do like it. It's just that when you have it for like a couple months
11
straight,
Saturdays was a little intense.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, come on, we'll give us some nice weather so we can, go outside and enjoy it a little bit. Now, for you, when you were kind of going through the scripts for the series, was there like one scene or maybe even a couple scenes that you kind of circled in your mind and you said, obviously you're excited about shooting the whole thing, but those specific ones you were excited to see translate from how they were going to translate from the page to the screen?
The Firefly one was definitely one because it was one of the first scenes I read, and just the imagining the fireflies and the glow and the festival in the background. Like I thought that was going to be a really beautiful like image. That was one that I really liked. And actually, in an earlier version of the script, we got interrupted by like my whole family. Like Kiara's dad is there and Noah's there, and we ended up kind of stripping it down, or Johnny ended up stripping it down to be a little bit more of an intimate. Like just my mom shows up, and it clarifies things a little bit more that way between our relationship. And but yeah, that scene I was super looking forward to shooting just for the imagery of it. And then also I knew about the homecoming scene earlier, so obviously I wanted to do that, and it was Mad Max themed and all this apocalyptic decor, and I don't
Which I
know,
love.
it all just when you read it looks like you can totally imagine it.
Visualize it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that. Those are some great choices. And now, as far as what was it like going from a supernatural slash horror world where you're working on Wednesday to filming a series like this that is much more grounded, like Motorheads. I imagine that was a quite the contrast going from the two different worlds.
I don't know if it is. I think that they're both school settings. They're both about young people trying to figure some things out. They're both solving mysteries, right? Like there is a lot of crossover. And I'm a big believer that all acting is kind of the same skills. It's just what you tone up and tone down. So it's if you're on stage, it's more technical or whatever. But so it didn't feel like a huge adjustment, I guess, other than the fact that we weren't in bright purple uniforms and I felt a sense of larger than life to it. It maybe, but I think that does the work for itself. Just being on set in like a real high school and being on a real main street in a tiny town kind of automatically puts you in a different world than like being in this
Nevermore Academy.
Gothic cathedral with like Ophelia in the fountain at Nevermore. Like it's just a very different environment for your body to be in. So I think that just sort of translates easily. But no, in terms of acting, I think it's similar. It's people talking to each other. It's people figuring out, solving a mystery. It's friendship groups and the dynamics. And yeah, they were both just really fun. I don't even know. I don't know if I ever registered too much of a difference
How do
in
you
that sense.
how do you think your characters from both Wednesday and Motorheads, if they were to meet up, how do you see that interaction going?
Oh man, Davina she's so strong, and like there were so many parts of her that like I wish I could have like shown more of because I had this whole thing for her, but she's very strong. She's very like she's secure and she's a little commanding, I think, because she's Bianca's right hand, so she's keeping Kent in check and she's always on the lookout for things going wrong for Bianca. So she's a bit more like that kind of mean girl or like popular girl. And I don't even know if I would consider yeah, I would probably consider her popular. But Kiara is just like not that. She's just very I think she's so concerned with keeping up images herself. She's not too aware other than like how things look to people. She's a little bit more concerned with like image. Whereas like Davina's like, I don't know, we literally bossed my younger brother to go, you know, ruin a boat so we can win a race. Like she's just like a strong, she knows what she wants, she's gonna get it. She's gonna make sure Bianca's happy. I think if they met, Davina wouldn't even give Kiara the time of day. She would probably just be like, okay, I'm not worried about you. You're not a threat.
Yeah. That must have been, I mean, for you, that must have been fun going from that character to the character that, you're playing now in this current series. So yeah, I had to
Yes.
and I recently came out last year. I got a chance to work with him myself. I was an extra on Beetlejuice. So
Sick.
had to ask you about that experience because I imagine just being there with all the gothic architecture and the costumes and stuff like that must have been so much fun.
That show was like it was like summer camp, honestly, especially just because we were all so young and it was like some of our first, big jobs and it was just the best experience. Tim is like the most welcoming and grounding presence on a set ever. Like there's no I only have positive experiences with him. I think he's so cool and amazing and
Oh yeah.
yeah, yeah, being out there is crazy. Yeah, Davina was all like mean looks and Kiara's kind of all like longing.
Yeah. To wrap things up for you, is there anything else that you would like to say about just working on Motorheads? And if fans haven't seen the series or haven't watched it so far, like what would you say? What you hope fans kind of take from watching this season one of the series?
Um, oh gosh, what do I wish people would take from it? I think that obviously people who love cars are gonna find it and it's gonna find its way to them. But I think that anyone who's a fan of those nostalgic shows like Friday Night Lights or One Tree Hill or anything that has a real group of people, like a real ensemble cast in a way, all going through different things. I just hope that everyone watches it, and I think that Kiara and Caitlyn is such a special relationship to have on screen. So I hope that the queer community finds it because I think that it's just amazing. When I read the script, I was like, how often do you see such a great portrayal of coming of age in like a town like this? And so I hope that people in small towns and in big cities, I hope that everybody watches it and roots for the relationships and finds their ships that they're into and just really gets into the lore of the show.
I'm a sucker for coming of age stories and these type of shows, so I was instantly hooked. And I'm also a fan of like the Fast and the Furious franchise, so there was also that racing component. But yeah, I've really been enjoying it so far. Where can fans stay up to date with your work moving forward as well?
My Instagram is J Diaz Watson, Dias Watson. That's where I post most of my work things. I would say that's probably the best place to stay up to date because
Awesome.
that's how it works now.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Yeah.
John, I just want to say thank you so much for your time today. It was wonderful getting to talk to you about the series, and I'll make sure to put your link for that down below in the description. That way, people can give you a follow and stay up to date with your work. And you're welcome back anytime in the future.
Thanks, Pat. This was really cool. Thank you so much for all the questions. Hello, I'm Johnna Diaz Watson. I play Kiara in Motorheads on Prime Video, and this is Pop Culture with Pat.